In January and February of 2002, the first 5 Terminator Cobras that were pre-production models were built. These cars were known as PP for pre-production 1 through 5. Interestingly enough, the first one produced was a Canadian model that was Colorado Red, which the paint code is D3. It's the same as Torch Red, like you're seeing here. And it was a hard top, and like I said, it was made with all the Canadian specifications, and it actually went to the testing grounds in Arizona. This car was built on January 25th, 2002. And the interesting thing was, these first 5 production models were built in 2002, and so when you look at their VIN numbers, they have everything that's Cobra Terminator specific, and then they have a 2 in the digit where it usually would be a 3 for the model year, 2002 instead of a 3 for 2003. So that is another thing that distinguished these 5 cars. Now, these were not the only Terminator Cobras built in 2002, because the early production runs were 2002 vehicles. This car was known as PP5, even though it was the first one built. It had the machined wheels, which weren't as reflective compared to the chrome wheels that were offered on the Terminator Cobras. And Parchment Interior. Parchment is the brownish colored inserts. It's actually quite rare. There weren't very many made with it. The Terminator Cobras that had Parchment Interior looked like this. They didn't have anything else on them that were different colors. It was just the inserts of the seats, which was an Alcantara suede style material. So the first Terminator made in pre-production was this. It was the first one to go down the assembly line at Dearborn. And the information on the website says that this was the durability test car, the 8-hour durability test car that was in Arizona, and that the magazines came out to drive it and test it and everything in that same time frame. And so this car that's on the cover is the Canadian model car. So this doesn't include any of the prototype cars that were built off other Cobras like 99 or 2001 Cobras that they used. This doesn't include the first production Terminator that went down the assembly line, which I believe was a zinc yellow convertible. But this car was used in the testing grounds in Arizona, and then it was destroyed, along with all the other pre-production cars. But basically, this is what the car would have looked like. Torch red, machined wheels, Parchment seats, but it was a Canadian model, and the gauges would be different. The rear view mirror has the lights on it. There's a bunch of things, daytime running lights, all the Canadian differences. Then the next one built would have been on January 28, 2002, and that would be PP3, which was zinc yellow with machined wheels and graphite interior. This car was specified as a management car, and I believe it is very likely that this was the car that we saw in all of the road test articles. There was coverage of this car in Hot Rod magazine against the STI, and of course the most famous coverage was in Car and Driver magazine with the convertible and coupe. And here you can see zinc yellow with the graphite interior. Now, we're not sure anything else about this car except for that it was destroyed along with the other pre-production Cobras. The third Terminator to go down the assembly line was built on January 30th, 2002, PP1, and this was a black ebony coupe with the chrome wheels, which was the only one produced of these 5 cars with chrome wheels, and the graphite gray interior. The only thing else that's stated about this vehicle was that it was a plant vehicle, is what it said. Now, I don't know anything else about this car, but like the others we know, it was destroyed after it was used for whatever it was built for. On January 31st, 2002, the 4th Terminator down the assembly line was Oxford White. This was PP2. It had the machined wheels, graphite interior, and this was stated as the durability car. Also, not much more known about this car as far as I know. except that it was destroyed when they were finished with it, like the other cars. On February 1st, 2002, PP4 was produced. It was Colorado Red, or paint code D3, which is the same as Torch Red. It had graphite interior, but interestingly enough, it had machined wheels. Now this car, as you can see in the picture, has the chrome wheels. This car is known as the Auto Show car, and I assume that they put the chrome wheels on it for the Auto Show. Now what's funny is this was the major event in 2002 where John Coletti rode in the front seat as SVT marketing manager Tom Scarpello entered the stage doing a huge smoky burnout. This picture is iconic. Everybody has seen this picture. They love this picture, and it's of a Sonic Blue Terminator. I think it may have even been the car used for Hot Rod Magazine and Car and Driver in some of their other photo shoots, only it would have had chrome wheels on it in those magazines, so it may have been something that got switched around. Perhaps this one was born with the chrome wheels, they switched it with the convertible, and then switched it back for all the magazines. I think the car on the stage even had the Parchment Interior like this one, which is the picture that was in Car and Driver. As a matter of fact, if we look at the picture from the 2002 Chicago Auto Show, we do see that the Sonic Blue car had the parchment seats in it. But something very interesting, if you look in the magazines, is it has this picture, and it's missing the little bar that goes from the pulley cover to the supercharger. As you can see in this other picture of a stock engine on another Terminator with the pulley cover, the shroud on there, see the little bar there is here in this picture, but it is absent in this picture, which was in all the magazines. So this has to be a very early production car. According to Iron Fist Leadfoot, the two Terminators that went to the Chicago Auto Show were a red convertible and the Sonic Blue Coupe, and they were pre-production models or production prototype cars. According to the website Terminator-Cobra.com, it doesn't know where the blue one came from, doesn't say that it was a PP car, so we'll just assume that it is another PP car. But anyway, that Sonic Blue was at the auto show, and it stole the show away from the red convertible that we're talking about here, the pre-production car. So here's the picture of the two cars on the stage. This is PP4, on the right there, the convertible Terminator we're talking about in Torch Red or Colorado Red. And the interesting thing about this car is there is a crazy story about the engine in this car. Now, if you look under the hood of this car at the show, they had these pictures. Take note of the supercharger pulley shroud, how it is a silver polished color with no bar going to the supercharger, and the signatures on the valve covers. These signatures were from SVT engineers who worked at the Romeo assembly plant, and they had signed this engine that they built themselves. They were trying the process out. They had no idea that this engine was going to go in a car. They thought it was going to go on the dyno. So they built this engine. They did the process. The engine builders were giving them a hard time as they were building, saying, "You're not going fast enough. We can do this in 6 minutes. What are you taking so long for?" You know, and but anyway, they had built this engine. They had signed the valve covers on the side there instead of on the plaque because they just took a blue pen and did that. And they had no idea that this was the car that was going to go to the Chicago Auto Show. And there were pictures of this car also taken before the show at a high-volume SVT dealer at a special showing. And these pictures were all over the internet, and their signatures were seen everywhere. And what's interesting, if you look real quick at this showing at this SVT dealer, you can see that the wheels are actually the machined wheels in this picture, not the chrome ones later at the auto show. Now those signatures belong to Brad Lammers and Brian Roback, who were SVT engineers, and the bottom initials were most likely from Kerry Cramp, who was the Romeo niche line coordinator. Now where this information takes an exciting and crazy turn is from Joe, who runs the Terminator-Cobra.com webpage, and he has compiled all of this information together. I love going on there and reading about everything. This is where you can learn a lot about the Terminator. This is his personal car, silver Cobra, that he's modified and done things to. But anyway, he has put all this information together, and he came in contact with somebody over the years who had a very interesting thing about the engine we're talking about here. He was sent this picture right here. This is a picture of the engine bay of somebody's car. Now, if you look closely at this engine bay, you'll notice something down there at the bottom. The intercooler reservoir has a cap on it that says Mach 1 on it. And it turns out that when the red convertible Terminator was torn apart, crushed, scrapped, after they were done with it, some of the parts escaped. And you guessed it, the engine to that red convertible Terminator made its way into a black 2003 Mustang Mach 1. He said on the website that there were some people at Ford that made sure that these pre-production cars didn't all get crushed and destroyed for no reason, in vain. Think about what this Terminator engine is. You know, this is the iconic, most expensive engine Ford had produced for a production car at the time. It has the forged internals, everything. I'm sure that they thought, let's not get rid of the engine, you know, get rid of the car, but the parts are said to have lived on, being sold and put on different cars. So I'll put a link to that Terminator-Cobra.com website where you can go get more of this information. As far as the magazine article cars go and these pre-production cars, Iron Fist Leadfoot did state that these cars were the pre-production cars that went to the magazines, and that the Canadian model that went out to Arizona for the 8-hour testing was out there, and they invited the journalists out there to drive it around, and that was the car that was featured on Car and Driver magazine. And I decided to run down to my garage and grab my edition of Motor Trend that had the Terminator featured in 2002, and I read through Iron Fist Leadfoot, and they talked about how there was a convertible that they had in Motor Trend, which is this car, and that it was actually a prototype car that they had early access to in November 2001, and there was no drive time whatsoever. They just went and took pictures of it, and they got it all ready so that in March 2002, roughly the same time that the car would be debuting at the Chicago Auto Show, they were able to put this magazine out on the racks and claim it's the power of the future, and that this is the new Terminator Cobra. So this was not one of the PP cars, it was a prototype, an early prototype. So this was a very interesting story. I like the Dearborn assembly plant pictures. I think it's really neat that these cars went down there, and there was a whole process involved. There's build sheets, there's production standards, there's all sorts of things they had to do to get these cars through there, and to integrate a supercharged V8 with a 6-speed and everything into the normal production of the cars was just an amazing thing that they did back then. So I like these stories. I think it's fun to read up about them. I know sometimes it's not fun to read all these things. It's easier to watch a video like this on YouTube, so I thought I'd make something about it, and we can all just learn through video. I love learning through video. It's my favorite way to just sit down, relax, and let the information be brought to me. Now, if any of this information is incorrect and you know something that I don't, or you know even more details about this, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm definitely okay to say that I don't know everything, and if there's something that I said that's wrong, go ahead and let me know. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already on here with us. And thanks for watching.